Welcome back to another edition of Force Friday, where we talk about Star Wars theories, characters, concepts, comparisons, analyzations, collectibles, and more.
And today we're going to be doing the verses of the battle droid. I know we're getting verses out, I get it. It's just they all kind of hit together. I don't control the flow of things. But this one I think is interesting because it's going to create a conversation of army building, what level of quality do you need for army building, just a couple of kind of different things. So in order to start, we need to look at accessories.
Accessory-wise, they both come with the gun. However, the Hasbro one can hold it. They also come with the antenna options, but the Hasbro one is built in. The Hasbro backpack is removable, and you can replace it with the single antenna, whereas the SH Figuarts comes with the 3PO head, which is a much cooler accessory. Gimmicks-wise, they both can collapse, so it's really a mixed bag of trying to find out what's the best here. So I am going to tie them for accessories because the Hasbro technically comes with more, even though the Figuarts is better accessories. But trust me, there's plenty of times during this review where the Figuarts is going to edge out the Hasbro, and sometimes on a technicality, so I think it'll all even out. And then for gimmicks, I'm going to give it to Hasbro because they both can collapse, but Hasbro has the swap out backpack feature. And that's the only way I can kind of make sense of this category for these two, because it's really neck and neck when it comes to objectivity. When it comes to subjectivity, I think that the 3PO head trumps everything, but I'm trying to be fair. I'm trying to run it down the middle.
Build and materials. So the materials, the Figuarts is better. It allows itself and lends itself more to the balance of the figure, and it supports the structure and frame of the figure better. However, build-wise, I'm tying it out because the arms on the biceps are constantly popping off at the swivel on the Figuarts. The shoulder pad constantly pops off on the shoulder of the Figuarts. This little bit here, as you're like just slightly moving it around, pops off on the Figuarts. You have none of those problems with the Black Series, and therefore I'm tying them for build, which normally I would never do, but I'm giving the edge with materials, obviously, to the Figuarts. Moving on to sculpt and paint, just a quick overview from the front, and at a glance, I don't think there's a big glaring winner. I think that the color palette of the Figuarts is closer, like that burgundy color or that burnt umber or whatever you want to call it, that autumn leaves perhaps, is a bit closer to the mark. However, I don't think that the Hasbro is far enough away where you don't instantly recognize what it's supposed to be. So I don't think you can say one is clearly better than the other looking at it from the front without getting into the kind of nitty-gritty details of really picking them apart. So let's get started with the head. So the weathering on the SH Figuarts stands out far better. It has subtle washes that stick out with shadows above the kind of nose piece. The eyes look more accurate, like they're like more of a circle, less of like kind of like a angled oval. I don't know how to describe it. Can you see what I'm talking about? I hope so. Now the Black Series has a very subtle shadow effect, but the weathering is super heavy-handed and throws it off. Sculpt-wise, they're about equal from the front. From the side, you can see some subtle differences in the sculpt. I think that the Figuarts neck pieces kind of look more purposeful, but they stay together on the Hasbro one, and there's something to be said for that. There's also more defined line work, I think, on the Hasbro one from the side. Chest, torso-wise, kind of the same deal. Interestingly enough, the sculpt work is pretty neck and neck. So there's more line work on the Figuarts if you look around the shoulders. However, the Black Series has the rivets. Look down to the lower body, pretty much the same for both pieces. Paint-wise, that's where Figuarts once again takes the lead, and it's because of the heavy-handed weathering effect of the Black Series. From the side, I mean, I'd say it's pretty much equal. I don't think there's a clear standout pass here from one or the other. Obviously, I'm using the backpack for one and the antenna for the other, but it's neck and neck there. Moving on to the arms, they're about the same. However, the proportions look better on the SH Figuarts. They go thinner, but I don't think that they're hateful, and I think it's pretty negligible. Now here, the Figuarts does the subtle washes, but they don't really do any weathering. Hasbro once again throws their hand at the heavy weathering. From the side, there's a few extra little details in the upper arm of the SH Figuarts with the kind of rivets and stuff. However, there's a lot more sculpted detail, I think, in the lower arm of the Hasbro. So, neck and neck. It does have the extra paint apps on the piston and on the knuckles of the fingers regarding the SH Figuarts. Looking at the pelvis and upper legs, they both have the details in the thighs. They both have the line work in the hips. The Figuarts is better weathered. The Figuarts also has the silver stripe at the hips. Looking at it from the side, it's about equal. Looking at it from the front of the lower legs, sculpt work is about even to include the little details right below the kneecap and the line work in the feet. The Hasbro has the good shading. The Figuarts has the good shading with a subtle wash and the good weathering. From the side, pretty much the exact same scenario. Better shading and weathering, about equal sculpt. I do like how the lower legs jut out a bit more in the back on the Figuarts. And finally from the back, and obviously one's wearing the backpack and one is not, but you know, no leaps and bounds one way or the other. They both have the wash or some sort of shading effect used on the Hasbro. They both have the weathering. Once again, it looks better on the Figuarts, but you can see the if you can get a good look here, I'm not sure if you can, on the back of the heads, the shading also looks better and sharper right there on the kind of details there on the, this is like just a good example of it. But yeah, I mean, this is neck and neck, you know, and the price is not. So that's an interesting thing to kind of take note of.
Now, as you can see, it's 4-0 SH Figuarts, but this isn't as much of a slaughter as it seems, because Figuarts is mainly taking the lead here due to paint, whereas they tie a lot with sculpt, and sometimes Hasbro takes the lead in sculpt, but because Figuarts has the paint, they end up tying out the category. So while as a single category, this looks like a landslide, when we get to the kind of final score, it's going to even out a lot more because Hasbro is either going to take the sculpt or tie in the sculpt, and it only really will equate to 1 point for the Figuarts due to the better weathering, whereas Hasbro uses that heavy-handed weathering that just rarely looks good. The same approach that they use with their weapons, Hasbro, they should be using for their weathering. It's just a better looking approach.
All right, let's go through the articulation. So the head articulation on the Figuarts is pretty impressive. It's a ball peg up inside of this channel here that comes down to a hinge. The hinge is on an armature. The armature comes down to a secondary hinge on the outlying pieces. And then this piece moves independently. And all of that allows for extreme articulation with the head down, extreme, and up. You also get a bit of a swivel, actually significant all the way, complete swivel, attitude, and your back flap, the middle piece, will move up and down. The Hasbro is a ball peg up inside of the channel, similar to the Figuarts, and that comes down to a hard plastic piece, and the hinge is actually at the neck. Now, articulation-wise, it doesn't make much of a difference, right? You still get kind of the same range. You also get this flap here in the back. Now, the only difference being is that it doesn't have all of the different independent moving pieces, which does make the Figuarts kind of look better and operate smoother, but it doesn't change the effectiveness of the joint. You still get the swivel, you still get all of those pieces, it just operates differently. For the shoulders, the Figuarts has a shoulder pad that's connected to the shoulder, which is going to allow the arm to get out to straight 90 degrees, plus the swivel for the 360. The Hasbro allows the shoulder piece to tuck inside of the chest panel, but it gets less than 90 degrees, but you do get the 360. Bicep swivel, bicep swivel. Single hinged elbow for 90 degrees, single hinged elbow for over 90 degrees. Forearm swivel and wrist swivel with hinge in out. Forearm swivel and wrist swivel with hinge in out. Fingers on dual hinges and the thumb on an independent ball peg, nothing. However, it helps hold the weapon better to have it just cast like this. Ball peg in the center of the chest, which allows for a swivel due to the armatures. It is limited. You get a little bit down and a good bit back. Same exact thing. Good bit down, good bit back, and the limited swivel. Hips are on ball pegs. You can get the leg all the way to the front, all the way to the back, and out to the side to about there. Same, but limited out to the side, same forward and back. No thigh swivel, no thigh swivel. Single hinge knee that gets you the full run, single hinge knee that gets you the full run. Ankle tilt up, ankle tilt down, and an insane rocker. Ankle tilt up, ankle tilt down, and a rocker. So the rocker here is, well, there you go. That gives you a better idea. It can get the same. This one's just a little tight.
So once again, SH Figuarts takes it here. But once again, it's also important to kind of keep everything in perspective here. SH Figuarts takes it 3-1. However, they take it in the shoulders for getting a bit more of a wider range at the out to the side movement. And they get it in the hands because their fingers work. However, it's actually a detriment to the figure because it's harder for him to hold his weapon as a result. And the hips move a slight fraction out to the side. So while it takes the lead, the differences here are negligible.
In terms of scale, Hayden Christensen is 6 foot even, and a battle droid is supposed to be 6.3 inches tall. So I'm gonna go ahead and extend his neck, and I'm gonna say that SH Figuarts is too small. Like from the back, it's too small. Forgive all that. Now, the Hasbro one might be too tall, but I'm gonna say it's more accurate. These little battle droids are falling all over the place, flipping ridiculous. But I gotta give it to Hasbro because he should be taller than Hayden Christensen. And I'll tell you, I've saw the life-size battle droid, and I've said this 1,000 times now, at Celebration, and it is a big unit. It does kind of tower over you a bit, and I think that's just a better scale representation. Do you care which one of these is better?
I do not.
Which one looks better?
The one on the left.
And pick them up.
Well, maybe, I don't know. Because that gun looks... gun to my head. Can I move him?
Mm-hmm. Just lay down.
Sorry. He's never gonna... I think that one moves smoother.
Mm-hmm.
That one.
Okay. All right, Jana, do you care which one of these is better?
No.
Which one looks better?
They don't look great.
You don't think they look like battle droids, though?
They're a bit out of color.
You think so? No, they're the Geonosis ones.
Oh, okay. Then maybe this one?
All right, and which one feels better? Don't worry about getting them to stand when you put them back down.
Probably this one.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, Selena, do you care which one of these is better?
No.
Which one looks better?
That one.
This one? Mm-hmm. Okay. And which one feels better?
Ooh, this one feels better.
The same one?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Which one looks better?
This one.
Okay. Which one feels better?
This one.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'll be honest with you, I didn't think it was going to go this way. So they tie in accessories due to quantity, not quality. They tie in build because Figuarts actually has some build issues, whereas the general build is usually a grand slam from Figuarts. This one, the bicep swivel ends up popping off all the time. Shoulder caps end up popping off. The backpack piece, like this, is just more problematic than usual. Whereas the Hasbro doesn't have a great build, but you don't have stuff falling off of it. They tie in hardware because neither of them have any. They tie in sculpt because it's pretty even across the board. They tie in likeness because they both look like battle droids. They tie in presence because of my family. Figuarts takes the lead in materials because it's Figuarts and they always will. Also takes the lead in paint because it always probably will. And it edges out Hasbro in articulation. And I mean edges. Barely beats them. Hasbro takes it in gimmicks because it's the only way I could kind of make that feel even. Hasbro takes it in feel because of my family. And you could say that they don't know what a fine figure is. And I would agree with you. If you took that point off of there, it would still be a tie at best. But they also take it in price, meaning that Hasbro does beat Figuarts 4-3. And even some of the categories that Figuarts wins, it wins by a hair. And this is a first and may be the last, but it did happen and I'm glad it did, at least for once. It's nice to have the underdog win every once in a while with a win from Hasbro 4-3.
So there it is. And I mean, obviously, you know, different categories are going to be weighted differently, and that totally makes sense. Just keep in mind some of the things and keep in mind where one kind of beats the other and where one kind of takes the other. And I think what's kind of important here is if you think of this in a troop building aspect, you've got a figure that technically beats the other one. If it doesn't beat it to you in terms of your priorities, it's certainly a very close competitor. At a third of the price, in terms of retail, it's probably different now. The prices are probably different now, but probably still at least half the price? I don't know. Haven't checked recently, to be fair. So it's something to think about. It's interesting and it's fascinating just how similar they are in a lot of respects. So very cool, man. I'm glad to see Hasbro take one, because it's like I said, this series really isn't about seeing if Hasbro can beat Figuarts. It's about seeing how close they can get and what categories they can take. It just so happens that they beat them this time. So I hope that helps. Hope you guys are staying safe. Hope you guys are staying sane. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.